Kenny Gaynor, nice to see you again, sir.
Absolutely, you too.
Inspiration behind the Cummins Power Tour?
Yes, I think the concept was garnered in 1931. Plessy Cummins, who was the founder of Cummins, undertook a tour around from east to west coast in the USA to obviously promote the Cummins product. Cummins was a little-known brand then, and our marketing people got with us, and that was the concept. We've done this in the US, we've obviously done it in Europe, the UK, and this is the first time we're doing it in Africa. And it really is just to bring the product closer, to touch the customers, and obviously, deploy a message that the importance of security of power.
And the sort of reaction you get from the people of South Africa on the highways and byways?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. The truck, we've got a competition running that's aptly named Spot the Truck, and we've had people every time phoning through, getting on our Twitter account, etc. To try and win something on the competition.
This beautiful international truck and the engine powering it.
Yes, it's what we call a ISX engine. It's a 15-litre. And very, very capable. It's a robust, we like to call it bulletproof engine in Cummins stable, and it's certainly, there must be about 30,000 or so trucks running around Southern Africa with this particular Cummins engine.
Absolutely, and power is a big talking point. We've got gas and diesel here. Who would be using the two differentials?
Yeah, one of the biggest constraints in South Africa, and particularly Southern Africa, is to a faster uptake in gas, is the provision of gas, particularly natural gas. So whilst we wait for that, and I do emphasize whilst we wait, because it is going to come. But one of the other issues is biogas. So for example, whether you operate a piggery or an abattoir or a sugarcane farm as such, one can use the waste product to power the generator standing behind you. It's a 315 kilowatt Cummins unit. And the diesel units, largely in our part of the world, as standby for various operations, hospitals, etc.
And you've an example of an abattoir going completely off-grid using this sort of technology.
Yes, I was at the abattoir in Scotland a couple of months back, and all the waste from the abattoir plus organic waste from various operations around went into an anaerobic digester and produced gas to run the unit, similar unit to what's behind you, and that powered the entire abattoir off-grid.
And supply and security of gas going forward next 5 to 10 years?
I think what's of interest to us, and certainly will be for the country, is the second pipeline coming through from Mozambique. Yes, that's going to take a while, but internationally we are told that the use of natural gas for power generation is about 21% in the power mix. In Africa, it's only about 4%. So we've got a long way to go to get the use of gas to power.
That would have a tremendous knock-on effect for greenhouse emissions. We look at 95% coal at the moment.
Definitely, yeah. And I think the issue too, gas is very well suited to distributed power. In other words, taking the power plant closer to the consumer. We see now that large mega power plants, about 50% of the investment actually goes on the transmission side, let alone the generation side. So having smaller power plants, easier to manage, closer to the customer, is certainly what we at Cummins believe is the way forward.
And customers always first for Cummins. How do you advise your customers exactly which genset to go for?
Yes, I think a genset is not a genset across various quotes. So we would advise customers to make sure, first of all, what their load is, what their requirements are, and it really is not just as easy as looking on the web or actually taking a brochure. There's a lot of technical input that goes into the correct selection of a generator, and most importantly, it's what are you going to use it for? What duration are you going to use the generator for?
And tri-generation, you're getting more than one usage out of one system.
Yeah, that's something that again is slow uptake in South Africa, but again it gets back to the provision of gas. But in the US, Europe, and the UK, a gas generator's exhaust runs at about 450 to 500 degrees C. And one extracts the heat from that and can use that heat, as well as through a heat exchanger change it into cooling or chilling for HVAC systems or any other chilling that's required.
Let's say fracking goes through and is successful. What will that mean for South Africa?
Yeah, I think the jury's out, but as you say, let's assume it is successful. Certainly, the provision of power, cheaper power, more reliable power for South Africa, and also the emission side of things, the green side of things.
And the remote capabilities of gensets really in the mining industry comes to the fore?
Yeah, a lot of mining in Africa is obviously, as you know, very, very remote, and oftentimes the grid doesn't get there, or even if it does get there, lots of transmission losses, voltage issues as such. So yeah, mines on the diesel side, nothing really beats a diesel power plant as such. It will change in the years ahead, but certainly from a remote perspective, at the moment, nothing beats a diesel plant for prime usage.
Staying on top of maintenance in these far out regions?
Yeah, that's a very, very important issue. It's one thing buying a generator, it's another thing making sure that you've got parts and you've also got trained technicians. So Cummins prides itself on both of those scores and ensures that we've got reliable vehicles, because obviously it takes a while in Africa to get to customers. It's not just a case of, in the center of a city, half an hour drive. Some of the remote mining sites takes a while to get there, so we make sure that we've got everything available in that score.
Infrastructure developments key for gas going forward. Are we seeing more input in that?
Yes, I think as earlier mentioned, the second pipeline, and I think we see a telecommunications company that last year in Johannesburg that extended an existing natural gas pipeline to bring gas power into their data center. So we certainly think that there'd be more of that. One takes Sandton, where Cummins operates from in Johannesburg, and certainly if there was a closer gas pipeline, I believe that many of those banking and financial institutions, data centers would go off grid.
And government's uptake of gas, it seems to be getting there. So
yes, I think, I believe if one looks at the countries across the globe that have been successful, what one needs is the master plan, which we're working on, master plan, to allocate natural gas into the power generation side. And I think once that's done, there will be a far quicker and more robust uptake.
And the rental market must be taking off as well.
Yes, the rental market is obviously, from a diesel perspective, it is costly. It's costly, but from a gas perspective, there's certainly rental opportunities.
And some of the expertise that goes into design specific gensets that you guys are making.
Yes, I think Cummins again prides itself with being innovative and addresses a number of customers in various industries, whether again that's data centers, the rental market, or even healthcare, and designs generators, adapts generators to specific applications, whatever they might be. It could be things like larger fuel tanks, it could be things like smaller footprints, or whatever the case may be.
And some of the software you talk about, remote control, that must be essential in remote areas.
Yes, it is in remote areas, and again, particularly for the healthcare industry, it's again one thing having your generators, but you need to make sure that batteries are being charged, fuel quantities are available should the generator need to be switched on, and also just to look at the engine dynamics, and find problems before they actually impact the security of power.
And we were hearing good numbers about your kilowatt hour pricing of gas. Total cost of ownership, that must really be the deciding factor.
Yes, it is. It's absolutely the total cost of ownership. In a diesel plant, about 75% of the cost of ownership goes to the fuel. So from a gas perspective, it's far, far, far lower than that. Although a gas generator typically is more expensive than a diesel generator, the fact that the fuel is considerably cheaper, outweighs that over a few years.
And fuel quality in Africa, are we going to see any legislation to get that thing moving?
Yes, I think Cummins products obviously are tuned to both US and German standards as such. So the products that we sell here are of good emissions, but we certainly hope that more stringent emissions regulation gets put into South Africa and certainly the rest of Africa.
In terms of beneficiation in South Africa, how can we get more product made in South Africa?
Yeah, that is an issue certainly, and Cummins is looking at that. And there are a number of factors, as you know, but that's something that is of interest.
The rand devaluation must be playing havoc here and there.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. But I think again, with the careful watch of the currency, it is doable, and we're able to manage it with our customers.
You get to get your crystal ball out. What might the power supply of 30, 40 years time be?
Yeah, that's a good question, but I certainly think that nuclear, has some place in terms of the power mix. No doubt, solar. If one looks at the cost of solar coming down just in the last 5 years, where solar now is right in the thick of things as far as costs of fuel go. We'll see a lot more uptake, and I think also hybrid systems. A little bit of solar, a little bit of wind, a little bit of nuclear, and distributed smaller power plants as opposed to large mega plants.